I started my business 12 years ago, and it's taken me 12 years to get to a point where I feel confident. Like, we made a ton of mistakes. We pissed a bunch of people off. It's the nature of our business, and it just takes time to perfect your process. Every time I make it that much better.
Welcome to Builders, Budgets, and Beers. I'm Reece Barnes, and I started this podcast to have real conversations about money in the building industry, the wins, the mistakes, and everything in between. I believe builders deserve to feel confident about their finances, and that starts by hearing from others who've been through it too. This industry can be slow to change, but the right stories and the right tools can make profitability feel possible. Let's get into it. Thanks for coming on the show, dude. Thanks for joining. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Cloud Candy. It's one of my favorite beers.
A little Cloud Candy. That's definitely a popular beer up here. I've heard of that for sure.
I love it. It's so
Where's
good.
it from?
Mighty Squirrel Brewing? I don't even know where that is.
God, that's a hell of a name.
Waltham.
Waltham. Party.
Apparently, we're going to be going to Waltham to drink some beers.
Drink some beers at the old Mighty Squirrel. I'm down.
That was our thing with my podcast. I got to get it going again. It was half in a tool bag, and we would drink beers and talk.
Are you going to call it half in a
business.
tool bag still? Are you going to do half in a tool bag still?
I don't know. I kind of want
That's such
to,
a
but
good name.
I also don't want it to be about beer. So it's like, I don't know. It is a good name.
Dude, my podcast has beers in the title, and I haven't drank a beer on this thing since like episode 3. I've been getting hounded that I need to bring it back. It's just like
we got a little
excuse.
crazy when we did one at a brewery and we had 4 back to back. And one was Ken Casey from Dropkick Murphy, and that one was great. You guys should look it up. Half in the Tool Bag. You still find it, and it's about his was about running a rock band through a pandemic.
Dude, I'm looking this up right now.
It was so good. And
Ken
it's so like
Casey.
he's so like forthright about all the issues they had during the pandemic and everything. Anyway, we were at Stillwagon Brewing, and by the 4th one, we had way too many high end. What do you call that? High octane IPAs, and I was like basically drunk,
just loaded.
One, yeah, it was not good.
It's definitely still on here. Half in the Tool Bag podcast.
Yeah,
PJ and Allie sit down. You only made it.
That's the one where I'm way too. I had way too loose on that.
I'm going to listen to it. This is great. Ken Casey. That's awesome. Okay. But actually, let's give some context. If the listeners haven't already picked up, your name is PJ. PJ, tell the listeners who you are, what you do, where you're from.
My name is PJ Antonik. I own Oak Development and Design out of the South Shore, Massachusetts, just south of Boston. We're based in a town named Hingham. And
not Waltham.
I build, not Waltham, Hingham. I build single family homes, basically from Milton to Duxbury, all the way down the South Shore, east of the highway. We're entertaining some stuff Metro West as of late. I don't know if it'll happen. We'll see.
Okay.
Purely because of traffic, I don't really entertain it. But if it's a good enough job, I guess I won't say no. And then we skip the bridge and go to Cape Cod, and we do stuff in Sandwich, Osterville, Falmouth. Not that much down there, very selective because of the distance. Mm-hmm. And then we hop the boat and we do some stuff in Nantucket. So we're kind of spread a little thin geographically. I'd like to kind of narrow it down a little more, but you go where the money is, right?
Yeah, but you're a thriving business owner. And I've heard good things about Nantucket. Rumor has it there's quite a lot of money down there. Big projects, cool projects.
Yeah, I heard rumor of that. Yeah, I heard rumor that there's a little bit there. I heard somebody say one day that people go to, I'm going to get this wrong, but it was really funny. It was people who go to Nantucket love great food and hate money.
Yes, exactly. That makes sense. Yeah. Wait, so actually does their food suck there?
No, it's like, dude, I've never had a bad meal. Been working out there almost 2 years. I have never had a bad meal.
Yeah.
The food is outrageous because the thing is, you're on an island, right?
Yeah.
And it's all luxury vacation people that expect really good food. And if you don't have good food, you go out of business like year one. Right.
Instantly.
But
Okay.
yeah, the food's great. But yeah, so we build single family homes, new construction, renovation, historic renovation, modern, New England, you name it. We build it. We don't really, people always ask, like, what's your style? And I would say on some of our spec homes, we definitely have a little bit of a familiar style to them.
Okay.
We like to call it modern New England. So it's,
Okay.
homes that fit in New England, but have a slight modern touch to them. So they stand apart and are a little more modern and unique.
Sure.
But we also, excuse me, we also don't lean into the modern too much because then people hate them.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. And Cape Cod is a very classic style. A lot of tradition in their
Yeah, New
style.
England in general just
Yeah.
does. And we have a lot of historic houses, a lot of old houses. So we have to really lean into that when we need to. I've
Yeah.
done one contemporary as a spec home, and we did great on it, and it came out awesome. But it was in a very specific spot. It was right on a marsh in a neighborhood that didn't have any architectural kind of consistency,
Sure.
and I could make it work there. But like,
Yeah.
if I tried to put that in Main Street, Hingham, like, forget it, I would be ostracized.
Yeah. For sure.
So you just got to be careful how far outside the box you go in that specific spot.
100%. Okay, that makes sense. You made one comment earlier that I do want to dig into, just for the nature of like this being, kind of talking about project financials. And we can just get out of the way for the sake of the episode. You mentioned that if a project makes sense, you would go and do it. Specifically referencing working in Metro West, talking about traffic a little bit. How do you decide what makes sense and what doesn't? Is it just like as easy to say it's going to have sick margin on this job, or like how do you determine that?
It's a great question. I think there's a lot of things that go into answering that question. Number one, is it a cool project?
Cool. Okay.
Like, straight and simple. Like, money aside, like, is it unique? Is it interesting? Does it help my portfolio? Does it make me excited to go to work?
Mm-hmm.
Is it good for social media? Because I rely so heavily on it. Like, all those things kind of play a part. It's less about the money up front.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about, is this a cool project? Are the clients cool?
Mm-hmm.
Are they a red flag? Do you want to run
Sure.
the other direction? Right. So those are all things you're evaluating right out of the gate. And for me, I've taken, like, for example, good example, it's close. So not a perfect example of what you're saying, but I got a random call from a guy in town that needed help assembling a large prefab post and beam barn.
Okay.
Never done one. Always thought it was cool. Don't have a clue what I'm getting into. Yes, I'll take the job because it's interesting.
Sure.
And we're going to learn. And I think not the wave of the future, but one thing that I'm really focused on right now are ADUs and pool houses. I'm doing a ton of them right now. And this might be a really interesting way to get them done cost effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all about doing it to just try it. Right.
Totally.
It's going to be 2 weeks of work at time and material. I typically would never take a job like that because we're just too busy, but this is cool.
Sure.
So it's not about the money. It's about the experience and learning something new. And it's going to be great for the grant.
Of course.
So at the same time, I've had people offer full multi-million-dollar builds in Provincetown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just not. I just don't have the staff to go all the way to Provincetown. Right.
How do you even make that work? Do you boat from Hingham?
No, you drive. You drive.
Really?
Yeah. And I know, I grew up on Cape
Cod. It's like a 2-hour drive, isn't it?
Yeah. I know people who live in Chatham that won't go to Provincetown because it's so hard to get back and forth in the summer. Now, if we had a larger crew on Cape and I had a PM that lived on the Cape, okay, maybe I would entertain that. But to manage it from Hingham and the South Shore,
no shot.
It's just not possible. So, prime example, it's not about the money. It's like, stay in our lane and not get distracted. Now, people are probably hearing that and say, well, aren't you going to Nantucket? Yes. But that's a little different because it's such a unique environment. The dollars are big. It's super risky because it's spec, but it's interesting. And that could be a really good market for me for the future. So it's also a little bit of a gamble in learning how to build on a very complicated island and
Totally.
seeing if we could get something else to stick out there. Okay, then maybe I hire an on island PM, right? So all these things
Totally.
play mix. Then, of course, the cash flow, right? The money's got to make sense. So Nantucket, if we sell it for our number, is going to be a great cash flow item. Hopefully we do. But if this goes well, maybe then I get someone that wants me to build them a house out there and I don't have to front the bill. And then that's super profitable, right? So it's all about investing in the future and creating more opportunity, right? But yeah,
Totally.
so Metro West is a good example. I think we've set a couple, I guess, parameters around the types of jobs we take now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We basically don't take any full builds under 500 grand.
Okay.
That's just our number. And we do that to weed out the ones that are unrealistic on budgets and
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we're turning the proper profit to support our cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And we do take smaller jobs now, but I subcontract the project management out on them. But
Mm-hmm.
even those, we've decided nothing under 150 grand because we're just spinning our wheels and we're not making enough money to support the business, right?
Totally.
And especially because I split my project management fee with the guy I subcontract that management out to. So when it comes to full oak builds, kind of 500 is around our threshold and we hold firm on it. The other thing that we say is you can't live in the house.
It makes total sense. Yeah.
So those are kind of our benchmarks of what we're willing to look at on a larger scale. As far as Metro West, I think we would definitely consider it as long as it's, a full build so we could sink our teeth into. We don't need to be there every day. Like we could be there 2-3 times a week. But those small jobs you got to be at every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so to take a $200,000 kitchen in Newton for me would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
But to take a full job where I can have subcontractors kind of self-managing and acting as my site supers, it works.
It makes sense. What does that criteria do to your funnel? And I ask because I was just in Chicago at the Contractor Coalition Summit, and that was a huge topic of conversation, was getting the right clients in the funnel and having like rigidity and understanding of who is your right profile. So what does your criteria do to your top of funnel, and how well does that work for you?
So I have different funnels, right?
Sure.
So I have pre-sale spec homes as one model. So if I do spec homes moving forward, I'm really, really trying to make it so that they're at a price point that I know I'll pre-sell. So for example, right now I just closed with some partners on a deal in Hingham. And before I even closed, I had a buyer lined up, right?
Awesome.
And those buyers are definitely, you want to qualify them. They have to be able to afford it, obviously. But then are they people we want to work with? Are we getting red flags from them right out of the gate? Are we saying to ourselves, like, are these people really going to be a pain?
What are some of those red flags? I think contextualizing this is good for the listener.
Yeah.
Like, what are some things that you're just like, dude, this guy sucks, I'm not going to work with
the gut feeling. Like if you're saying to yourself, dude, this guy sucks, you're married to him for a year. And guess what? In the state of Massachusetts, you're married to him for 5 years after they move in. Right? Because you could say you have a 1-year warranty, but 93A consumer protection marries you to them for 5. So you want to make sure that whoever closes on that house is going to be awesome to deal with afterward. Because if they're not, you're going to have problems, right? So that's number one. There are all sorts of red flags, but you need to understand your process, trust your process, and then move forward knowing that your process is solid. And if people are kind of getting in the way of that process working, then that's a red flag.
Sure. Okay. I think that's good tactical advice. It's essentially is like follow your gut, but your gut is going to be giving you signals based on how that individual fits into your process. So you essentially need
Yeah.
a
So
process, right?
for example, like we're really good at pre-sales. We're
Mm-hmm.
really good at putting together a solid spec sheet and a design presentation, and then giving the presentation to a prospective client and having them sign off on it, and then building the house. Like we have a really good process.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our deals is that we select everything. And that's, by the way, not just for spec houses. We select everything for every job, all the custom builds we do. Our team sources and selects all the interior finishes, the hard finishes, the faucets, the lighting, the colors, uh, the interior moldings, the door styles, the handles, the hardware, the bath hardware, the toilets, the vanities, like everything you see and touch inside the
Mm-hmm.
house when you move in, we select. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the reason we do that, number one, we select it on budget.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, we select items we know we can get on a timely manner. And number three, we control the process, which allows us to move faster, right? Because
Beautiful.
in these pre-sold models, we don't get paid until it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to control the process to move efficiently. Now, if a client comes in right out of the gate and just says, no way, I have to select everything, that's an example of a red flag.
So yeah,
because that's against our process, right?
correct.
And so that's different for everyone. We're very abnormal. Not a lot of people do it that way.
Yep.
A lot of people use outside designers. A lot of guys prefer that those clients pick everything and they just give them allowances. And that's great. That's their business model. So a red flag for them would be the opposite, would be
Right.
somebody that's really wishy-washy, has a really hard time making decisions, and doesn't have any vision, is going to have a really hard time picking things, which is going to delay
Mm-hmm.
you. They're going to have a really hard time finding things that are on budget because they don't understand that the Dolomite marble from Italy is 5 times expensive than a different marble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be a red flag for that contractor, because then what's going to happen is they may have a $10,000 allowance for, I don't know, we'll say tile,
Mm-hmm.
which is a high allowance for a normal house, but still say it's
Mm-hmm.
10,000 for tile. And then when the client goes and they pick $25,000 worth of tile, then they're mad that they didn't give them a proper allowance.
Right.
But you and I both know the allowance was fine. They just picked really crazy. And so
Totally.
as a result, it creates like a contentious environment, and that is not good for anybody. So that would be the opposite of us, but a red flag in that direction. Does this make sense?
Oh, it totally does. It totally does. And I think that's like, I think it's the clarity and knowing what you're trying to produce allows you to set expectations and move the right person through the funnel.
And listen, I started my business 12 years ago, and it's taken me 12 years to get to a point where I feel confident. Like, we made a ton of mistakes. We pissed a bunch of people off. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we've had clients that don't like us at the end. Like, it's the nature of our business, and it just takes time to perfect your process, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, after learning from all those mistakes and understanding where I could have been better,
Mm-hmm.
I just, every time I make it that much better, and
Mm-hmm.
I still learn every time. And it just takes a lot of experience to kind of get to a point where you trust your process. But I mean, even today I was frustrated, right? So it
Totally.
is what it is.
There is, I don't think I mean, this is just like the most obvious philosophy and rule of life is like, there is no finish line. And I think so many people, they think of this as like, oh, I've got the perfect process. I've got it dialed. It's down. It's done. It's like, no, you're going to be iterating on this thing until you're done.
5 years ago, I said, I'm never doing a custom build for anybody. That is crazy. I don't want to deal with the people. I'm only a spec house builder. Well, guess what? I lost my shirt on 2 big houses, and now I don't want to sign a personal guarantee.
Totally.
And so I don't really want to do spec houses anymore right now, right? Unless they're pre-sold.
Yeah.
Or unless I have a partner that's going to sign the personal guarantee or pay for the whole thing.
Right.
I just don't want the risk. And
Totally.
so all of a sudden now I'm doing all custom. 5 years ago, I was like running for the hills from custom, but now I've kind of like developed a new process to deal with the custom client. and it's going great. Like we're crushing it right now with the customs. It's going really well. So,
Beautiful.
I've learned that like if you are rigid in your thoughts and are not willing to flex or be flexible with your business model, at least for me, it does not prove to work well,
Yeah.
right? I think one of the reasons we've continued to be successful is that we're a little bit of a chameleon in the sense that we ebb and flow into and out of spec and into and out of custom, and our systems adapt to both really well. I've talked about this on Nick's podcast, same subject about how our process started as a spec building process, but then we adapted custom building to it and we're able to kind of bounce between the two and it works.
Totally.
And your systems have actually helped us tremendously with being able to create a back end that allows us to do that, right? Like we use QuickBooks, but then we use you guys to help kind of keep it all on track, integrated with QuickBooks. And it's
totally,
I understand we're on a podcast for Adaptive, but that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to like broadcast selling Adaptive, but it has helped us tremendously kind of fine tune our process so that we feel confident. Right.
Totally. And PJ, I'm most people that come on the podcast haven't listened to the podcast, so I don't expect you to have tuned in before, but you'll know if you did that I'm like pretty anti-plug. But with that said, I think talking about Adaptive on a financial podcast is fine. And that leads me to ask you, I'm curious, like, what about Adaptive has allowed you to add to your more chameleon-like business? Is it just the clarity or the confidence that you're going to have the clarity on the project, whether it is a custom or it's a spec? Is it visibility? Is it just like it just takes stuff off your plate? What is it that Adaptive helps you?
So I have a really robust estimation Excel sheet. It's like multi-tab. It's very long. It captures every single item in a house, and I'm very in tune with how I estimate and my numbers. With that, we have a very complicated class structure of our expenses, right?
Okay.
And so we've been able to utilize Adaptive to take those class structures in, class codes. I'm not an accountant.
Yeah. Class codes, whatever.
Yeah. Bring those in, and we're able to record all our receipts and do all of our billing, all our bill intake, and process all of our invoices that we have to pay through Adaptive and sync it with QuickBooks. It has made my office manager and my CFO's job so much easier. They spend half the time they used to spend inputting everything into QuickBooks. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, it saves me personally at least 2 to 3 hours a week of approving things, right? So it saves me time. It makes us more accurate in our invoice flow. Therefore, my reporting on my actuals at the end of the job is more accurate, which then results in more accurate estimating.
Correct. It's like this full cycle thing. Go ahead.
It's a full cycle. So now we still haven't perfected it. In fact, we are still working to work out kinks and how Rochelle is entering things versus the way that I estimate it and it lining up in the budget to actual report. And a lot of you guys might be like, what the hell is he talking about? And probably throwing out terms that some guys don't even like.
That's why
a lot
we're
of guys,
here.
Yeah, a lot of guys work off the back of a 2x4, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, don't understand technology as well, and that's fine. But for me, it's allowed. And by the way, using your software or any software, whether it be JobTread or BuilderTrend or or whatever, it's not that hard to learn. It's all about learning it and then actually using it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Bingo. And so that's why we didn't end up continuing to use BuilderTrend, because it was really expensive. We weren't really using it because we weren't consumer facing.
Correct.
I don't need to talk to myself through a platform. So it just didn't make sense for us, right? But Adaptive, we started using 2 years ago, and I legitimately use it every day. And so we're using it, and it's helping us. And so for me, back to your question, what it's done is it's allowed me to streamline everything we do in the back end so that I could be more confident in my numbers. I could be more accurate with my estimating, which is why I'm 15% under budget in Nantucket, which everybody that like blows everyone's mind, right? It was because I estimated right at the beginning, right? And so when
your numbers,
we run out of interest reserve because we haven't sold it yet, well, guess what? I have 15% construction savings that I can pull and use for my interest, right? So it's a long circle of saying like the more garbage in, garbage out. Okay.
Totally.
If I'm just doing this with my estimate,
yes,
that's garbage in. And as a result, my budget at the end is going to be blown. I'm going to be over budget, and either I'm losing money or my client's going to be pissed at me.
Totally. And even just like,
so
go ahead.
Nope, I'm good. Go.
Okay. I think there might be a little bit of lag. We're good though. I was literally just having this conversation because essentially what you're saying is like, because Adaptive is making it easier and you're spending less time on understanding your numbers, understanding your cost, understanding your income, stuff like that, that you're now able to make better decisions because you have the data. The example that you're using is you have better estimating data because you know legitimate costs and how they're being categorized. Just having this conversation in Chicago. 2 guys in Florida.
Well, and I'm also finding problems.
Correct. Which problems?
So like 2 days ago, I ran a budget to actual and I was going through and I was like, there's no actual costs for windows. The windows are on site. And I know in my head, they were $38,000. Why are they not on here? Turns out they were classed to the wrong job.
Bang.
And turns out that the client hadn't paid for them yet.
Bang.
Right? Because it just got to the wrong job, which wasn't a cost plus job. Right? And so by running that report and going line item by line item, which pains me, I hate doing it. I put it off for weeks. But I was up at 5 a.m. one day. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out to the office. I had a cup of coffee and I sat there with the spreadsheet and I went through 4 jobs. It only took 45 minutes. That's the other nice thing about it, is it's fast. And I found all sorts of problems. I also found a bunch of money. I was like, oh, this was a contract bid. We're $38,000 under budget.
Bang. Bang.
Bang.
That's what we like to hear.
38 grand that I can utilize in other areas, right? And it's like, without that reporting, that would just be in my bank account and I'd be scared to spend it because I'd be worried that if I spend it, I'm going to have a bill that comes in and now I can't pay the bill and now I get behind, right? So it's all about cash flow. And I owe it to my sister, Cindy, my CFO. Like she's so good at managing our shout out to Cindy. I mean, like I couldn't fucking live without her involved because she's so good at managing our cash flow, but she doesn't run jobs. And so she's dependent on me to tell her, okay, this is where we're at and we're on budget, or, hey, we went over budget 20 grand or 100 grand or whatever that is. Right.
Right.
And so I was able to call her and say, hey, I just found 38 grand.
Yeah.
All because of the reporting out of Adaptive. Right. And for those of you listening, like if you're scared of spreadsheets and you're scared of everything we're saying, it's really super easy. You just download it. And I do a manual process. I mean, a lot of people do things much more sophisticated than me, but I just go line item by line item and I add a column that says over under. And I just kind of like, I don't go into every single penny like some guys might do, but I'm like, okay, well, we were 15 over on this, but I know that I had 15 under steel and we didn't end up buying any steel beams. So it's a wash. Totally. So I know I'm on budget with my framing and then I go down the list, right? So it's just a great way to kind of give yourself a gut check.
Totally. It goes back to so much of this business is gut, right? And so much of the guys that are good at this game lean into intuition, their gut feeling, right? All these like emotions and just things that they're considering and making decisions based on. Like I was saying with these guys in Florida, they had a conversation. They sat down at the end of a job and it was essentially like costs that they were going to bill their client for, but there was like some variable, some emotion tied to the conversation that said, do we bill them or not? Or do we just eat it? Right. and they decided to eat it, which is fine. It happens all the time. And I'm not even here to say that like eating costs as a builder is the wrong thing to do, right? I don't think it's that rigid or that binary. But what I do think is if you're going to be making those emotional gut decisions, you owe it to yourself to have the data to add to that gut decision. Meaning that if I'm sitting at the end of a job and I don't know that I'm actually at a 7% net as opposed to the 10 that I thought I was going to have, and I make the decision to eat cost, and that's going to throw me down to a 6 or a 5% net as opposed to a 9 or an 8% that I thought I had, that's a really big deal, right? And if you know your numbers and you're making those gut decisions on what do I eat, how do I move, how do I make this decision, you might make a different decision just with that little piece of data saying, dude, like you're actually at 11%. This is cost that we're considering eating. That's going to drop us down to a 9. That's still going to be a really profitable job for us, a good job for us. So we're going to eat it, keep the relationship, and move on. But if I'm sitting there and I don't have that information and I eat cost and it jumps me down to a 5%, you're like, dude, that's a really risky job that you're not going to make reasonable return on.
Well, so you bring up, so let's talk about gut for a minute.
Yeah.
Like I only, when it comes to pricing jobs, I only trust my gut if I'm throwing numbers casually. Otherwise, I look at data because so many guys get in trouble when they're sitting there with their notebook and they're writing, okay, I think framing is going to be 22,000. I think plumbing is going to be 20,000. And that's how they do their estimate, right? Not a good idea.
Yep.
Just not a good idea. You got to audit your jobs and understand what you spent on previous ones. Now, everybody does it different. There's not a perfect science. The way I do it is I do all of my price comparisons on square footage, even like exterior trim. If I know I'm replacing all the exterior trim of a house, I do it by square foot, right? And it gives me that benchmark. Now, it might not be dead on, but it gives me a gut check, right? It gives me a starting point. And what I do is I've created a spreadsheet, and you and I talked about this when we were at our dinner not too long ago.
Yep.
I created a spreadsheet, simple, framing, exterior trim, interior trim, and material and labor, broke it out. And then I went through, I used Adaptive and I ran a report every single job for the last 2 years. And then I sat there all day on a Saturday and I went down the list and I manually plugged everything in, right? And I did that for 2 reasons. Manually, on purpose. Number one, it's making me physically look at everything. And I found all sorts of shit that was wrong, classed wrong, processed wrong. I found money. I found things we lost money on. Like it was a way for me to audit everything we've done. But then also it's allowing me to like visually see and understand what I'm spending my money on. And then what I did was I classified the first couple as renovations and I classified all the others as new construction and I averaged them. So now I know that my electric on a new construction is $11 a square foot. I just know that number, right? So when I'm pricing a new construction in my list, I go 11, I hit my number, and then maybe I'll call my electrician and be like, hey, so what do you think of this? It's blah, blah, blah. I give him the rundown. I'm like, I'm at like 38,000. Like, what do you think of that number? And he'd be like, yeah, that's dead on. Or maybe my lumber rep would be like, oh, dude, prices just went up. Like you're off by $5 a square foot, right? Like it allows me that gut check.
Yes.
And so relying on your gut to price a job, you are asking to lose money because there's no way that you're going to understand everything top of your mind. It's just impossible. And so my best advice is it doesn't have to be that complicated. Just kind of like average out all your last jobs and just have that number of what that is to start your bids at so that you're confident, so that you know like you're close, right?
Totally.
And again, every job is different. So every category is going to kind of shift and change. There's no perfect science.
Totally.
But that's what's worked for me. And again, everybody does it differently.
Dude, I love it. I think there are going to be plenty of listeners that can empathize from you and that will take away from that. Because it doesn't have to be that complicated. And again, like I could sit here and be like, dude, PJ, like we got to get you to use this and adaptive or this. There's this way to do it. But it's like at the end of the day, as long as you can get the information you need and you're using it in a way that's palatable to you. Again, going back to using the data,
Yeah.
using the software, that's a win, right? And if I can have a builder that is building in an extremely competitive, extremely desirable part of the country, doing extremely high end work that is going into conversations and future work saying, I know that my electrical is $11 a square. Bang. That's a win. That's a contractor
Yeah.
that's
And,
making
and
way better
so,
decisions.
you know what else it's done, right? So like, for example, my Finnish carpenter crew is amazing. Like one of my best subcontractors. I trust him explicitly. Like I don't even manage what he does on site anymore. I just give him some inspiration and he does it and it comes out unbelievably good. Oh, wait behind you.
I
So you
know.
get your light back on. Um,
It's going. There it is.
and it's gotten to a point now with like my plaster guy, my interior trim guy, my
Mm-hmm.
tile guy, where I just know my numbers. I
Mm-hmm.
run the number on my spreadsheet. I see the number on my spreadsheet and I call up my plaster guy and say, hey, I've got this job. Go walk through it. I've got 42 grand. Let me know if that's good. Walks through, sends me a text. Yep, looks great. Right.
Love
So
it.
I'm determining the pricing now,
Love it.
which is like a whole nother step, right? Because
Yes.
these guys don't have the time to deal with it. And they just want to know that they're going to get paid. And
Yes.
so like my Finnish guy on my job at Duxbury, we walked through and I said, listen, I've got 45 grand. That's what I've got for my number. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, I can make it work. Sounds
Love
good.
it.
Right. And it's a big custom house. It's a lot of work. But he also knows that even if he's not killing it and making like an absolute home run, there's another job right behind it.
Totally.
Right. And he knows it's consistent and he's getting paid on time. Right.
Yes.
So it gives knowledge is power. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing your numbers allows you to be more negotiable and it
Totally.
works. Totally
Totally.
works.
I love it. I love it. Okay, enough financial talk. I think because this was just great. I want to hear more about the details on the Nantucket job because I've been following on
Oh,
Instagram
yeah.
and it's pretty sick. First off, where do they find you on Instagram, PJ?
So my Instagram is oak_development. If you just search oakdd, also find us through the website oakdd.com. Everything. My social's pretty robust, so you can't not find me if you Google Oak Development.
Okay.
But yeah, so social media has been. I mean, that's a topic into itself, but we'll go to Nantucket first.
Yeah, we'll start with Nantucket and
So
then we'll wrap. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so basically I grew up at Cape Cod, so I understand what it's like to build in a vacation town. It's a very niche thing when it comes to spec building and building as an investment property. It's not normal. It's not like building in Hingham where if you put up a $2.2 million spec house, it's gone in a day. Like it doesn't work like that. Vacation areas, the buyers are slower to the punch. They're very picky. You need to have the right amenities in it. It's very different. Then Nantucket's like a whole different level of
I'm sure.
complex. Not only to build, but just the buyers and what you need to do to get people interested. I have not cracked it yet, clearly, because I haven't sold them yet. But it's just a different ballgame. And so I've been to Nantucket so many times in my life, and I always joke. I always say I hate that I love Nantucket, but it's awesome out there. And so I have a friend of mine in town that I met at Starbucks randomly. That's a
Love
very
it.
successful guy. And he had always said, hey, I really want to invest in one of your projects. I was like, yeah, anytime. Like, we're always looking for investors. And he said, no, but I want to do one on the island on Nantucket. I'm like, good luck trying to find it. Like, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, sure as shit, he shows up 6 months later and he's like, hey, I found our project. And I'm like, all right.
Awesome.
So that Monday I got in a boat and I went out there and I looked at it with him and it was a absolute disaster. And he did not see it at all. And I was like, this is great. We can make money here. Let's go.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, we raised a bunch of money with a bunch of partners, and all of a sudden, we were buying a house on Nantucket to flip. And
That's
when I say
awesome.
flip, full massive gut historic renovation in downtown Nantucket. I mean, you can't
Wait,
pick
what
a
was
harder project to start with on
what?
Nantucket than what we
Where
did.
did you have like skid steers in the shell, and there was like foundation stuff, and like I
Yes.
remember seeing
Yeah.
some of that stuff. It's like you're like moving sand and like putting like structural shit in. Like
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not a
dude, I
contractor.
cannot
I
tell
don't
you,
know.
first of all, getting the approvals from the HDC was challenging. And I'm not going to bang on the HDC at all because they were doing their job and we were
Mhm,
not presenting well.
mhm,
And it's our fault that it took forever. If we had honestly, if we had hired the right architect, we would have got done twice as fast. But we tried to cheap out and use somebody inexpensive and we got burned.
mhm,
Fully admit that. But now that I've done it once and I understand all the players, and also I think the people in the HDC respect us for being so tenacious and pushing and pushing and pushing. And the
mhm.
building department supports us. Everyone out there has been phenomenal. I cannot even say how great everybody in the town has been to work with. Everybody out there, they're on an island and everyone's there for the same reason. And everybody wants to support everybody. Like if you're a good person, you treat people nicely and you pay your bills and you smile and say thank you, everyone's there to be helpful. Everyone,
Totally.
other contractors. It's been awesome. I thought other
I love it.
contractors were going to hate having us there. And everybody has like embraced having us there. It's been so great. Now I got to sell them, but
Yeah.
long story short, like working out there is great. Like as long as you're organized and you have a process and you're thinking ahead and you're ordering 2 days ahead of time and not last minute, you're fine.
Yeah.
Even staying out there, like I just rented a small apartment for the guys for almost 2 weeks for $2,200. It wasn't terrible,
Insane. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if you think ahead, you bring guys out, you hire the right local guys, and you negotiate and you know your numbers, it's really not too bad working out
Yeah.
there. And so yeah, so my buddy John brought me the deal. We raised a bunch of money and yeah, we built it. We've been there. We closed on it in February. In February, it'll be 2 years.
See,
So
that's
interest
awesome.
is getting kind of heavy.
Mhm,
We used a private lender, a private local lender, Grossman,
mhm.
to help us with it. And New Boston is the name of their firm. They do great financing for these types of things. If you guys are looking for loans for Massachusetts or locally New England based, like big renovations, like New Boston's been awesome. Dave
Love it.
Grossman's the owner. His dad and him started the company. They've been awesome. They've been great partners. So we use them to finance it. And yeah, it's been an awesome project. It's been really great.
Dude, I love it. And again, if for you guys that are listening, you got to go to PJ's social because it is a very cool Nantucket. Just perfect, exactly what you would expect project.
Well, and what's interesting, right? Like the reason I've been under budget there, honestly, is good negotiating with vendors,
Mhm,
but a lot of sweat equity
mhm.
myself. Like I haven't touched a hammer in 8 years. I
Right.
run heavy machinery a lot and I do stuff that doesn't slow people down,
Mhm.
but I don't swing a hammer anymore. There are way more qualified, better people at it than me that get it done way faster. Is
Yep.
not worth me doing. But
Yep.
on Nantucket, when you're stuck there, you can't go anywhere, and the prices for local vendors and local contractors are through the roof. You're like, well, 25 grand to install two small kitchens. Like, I'm just going to do it myself. And I brought all my tools out. I
Yep.
slept on an air mattress
Yep.
and I put two kitchens in, which I haven't done in 8 years, 10 years.
Totally.
And
It's
I
like
saved
riding a
myself
bike.
$25,000,
Yeah, totally.
right? Because I'm there managing the crews and like having meetings and running the lumber yards anyway. And I
Yeah.
can't leave. So I might as well be productive. So I built the fence myself. I put kitchens in myself, all this stuff. I I dug the foundations myself. I
Yes.
infilled the inside of the house myself. Like, why not? Because I'm there. And so it's been fun because it's brought me kind of back to how I started the business.
Mhm.
And I've been like
That's awesome.
heavily involved again. It's been kind of cool and enjoyable. Like put the headphones in, put airplane mode on and just dig a foundation and ignore the rest of the world for a day and have a great dinner at Pie and go to sleep on an air mattress. Like
What more
It's
could
not
you? It's like
terrible.
vacation. It's like you're making money on vacation.
Sort of, except the only thing everyone says, like, will you keep doing Nantucket? The only downside is I'm away from my kids too much and my wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing that sucks. I missed my son's first touchdown, right? That kind of
No.
sucked. That
Yeah.
kind of sucked,
Yeah.
right? But listen, it's going to be really profitable. It's been enjoyable. I don't know. It's very risky.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's not for the faint of heart. But I mean, just like spec building in
No.
general is not for the faint of heart, especially when you throw in calibers of projects like that in locations like Nantucket.
Yeah, I mean, we're listed between all of it for 11 million bucks. So it's,
Yeah.
you can imagine the carry cost is through the roof. But you know, what do they say? Big risk, big reward. I'm not
That's
sure,
right.
but
Yeah.
until I
Something like
sell it,
that.
I'm stressed. But it's my only spec project right now that is not sold. But yeah, it's been a great project. If you guys should definitely come on and check out my Instagram. I'm trying to put it on there a lot.
Totally.
But yeah, it's been fun.
I love it. Okay. And then so we don't have to like just cut like abruptly because I do want to talk about your new show and
God.
any other fun stuff that you have going on in the background.
I got a lot of stuff going on. So as I don't know if people may have heard of our show and stuff, but we had a show on NECN and NBC Sports Boston. We had 56 episodes called Heart of Oak. You can still watch it on Roku. You find it on our website. It was a passion project that kind of turned into a marketing animal.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. Like I was producing a TV show, hosting a TV show, selling a TV show.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. It helped me build my brand. And it itched a passion for me to be on camera. I love being on camera.
Mhm.
And we actually got nominated for an Emmy our last season, which was
So
great.
cool. So cool.
So cool. We didn't win,
Yeah.
but it was still fun. We went to the New England Emmy Awards. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that has now landed me in two separate new opportunities. One, I've been working on a new show pitch for a national show called Devastation Renovation that got greenlit by Roku as a Roku original, sorta, in a way. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, sure.
And we're in the midst of raising money for that. I'm hoping it comes to fruition. It sounds like it may. It's a little bit in limbo. And if anybody knows the entertainment industry, you don't count on anything until you're on set.
Right.
But then the other one is even more interesting. I just got approached by the team at Dining Playbook on Nessun, the sports network. Billy Costa, Jenny Johnson hosts Dining Playbook, and Jenny is starting a new show called New England Blueprint. And they approached me about maybe hosting some stuff on that show. So that's pretty exciting.
Love it.
Yeah, again, I'm not on set yet, so we'll see how it goes. But it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be aired 3-4 times a week, advertised on the Bruins and the Red Sox because it'll be a Nessun-owned show. Let me just tell this guy. I'm going to call him back.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. It would air this spring. So we'll see.
Dude, I love it.
That pans out. I don't know.
Wait, do you have the trailer? Is the trailer public for
No,
Devastation?
Neither of them are public. No, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, then you have to follow. Yeah, you have to follow PJ along until when he drops it because it's pretty sweet.
It's fun. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be recognized for the hard work I put in, and hopefully it pays off for another hosting gig. I love hosting TV. It's really fun. People always ask me like, do you get off on people recognizing you? I'm like, no, I just like that people enjoyed what I spent so much time doing. And like,
totally,
I put my heart and soul into that show. And the only reason we stopped was I was tired. Honestly, all my sponsors wanted me to keep going. I get approached, I don't know, once a week, twice a month from random people in the grocery store asking me why we're not on TV anymore. Like, I mean, that's so humbling. It's great. So it'd be really fun to do more stuff on camera again. And then I do some social influencing for some of my old brands. I'm still waiting for Adaptive to ask me, but they haven't asked yet.
Well, It's never out of the question. It's never out of the question, PJ. It's never out of the question. You should always have the conversation.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I think this is great. Even aside from all of the all of your knowledge in social media and TV presence, I think you're looking at business a pretty solid way in terms of how you're like looking at your numbers as a business. Where can we make money? What works? What doesn't? If you have anything that you would leave the listeners with, what would it be?
Find your niche and stay in your lane, right?
Yeah.
I've fallen victim of coming out of my lane, and it's bit me. And know your numbers. That's the biggest thing. I've learned some hard lessons the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, as hard as the failures are, it's so cliche, but you always learn from your failures. But even if you're really down, like way behind and having trouble paying your bills, like, just grind through it, because you'll get through it as long as you grind through it and believe you can. And then on the backside, you'll be a better person. You'll be a better dad. You'll be a better mom, whatever. Like, you just got to push through it. And don't be afraid to ask for help either. Like, ask, like, talk to other contractors, talk to you, to text me, email me. Like, we're all here for the same reason. I don't really believe in competitors. I believe that we're all here to lift each other up and create a better economy for all of us. Obviously, if someone talks shit about me, then I don't like you. But
that's just normal.
Honestly, like, all of my what most people call competitors in town around the South Shore, we all text each other. We're all friends. Like, we're all passing information around. We're all warning people about clients to stay away from. Like, we're all here for the same reason. So don't be afraid to talk to other people and ask for help, because everyone here is willing to share their failures to help you become more successful.
Totally. I love it. PJ, thank you so much for jumping on the pod. And I'm looking forward to our next round of beers, whenever that may be. I know you're a busy guy.
Once I land one of these shows, we'll have to jump on and do it on location.
100%. Well, we'll have to do an in-person podcast. I'm working on getting my studio set up to accommodate that better. You're certainly well on your way. We'll get together for sure.
And I might start half in a tool bag again.
Dude, I don't know why you wouldn't. You're 4 episodes in. There's a hell of a name. You've got
I have way more. I have like 28, 30 episodes. If you look, that's just a category within the show. Those were like late additions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Dude, you totally need to pick this back up. Load more episodes. There they are. Yeah.
Oh, you just learned how to use the internet. Good job.
Yeah. Just the tech guy over here. Big.
But one of the best episodes by far, if anybody wants to listen, is the Ken Casey episode of Half in the Tool Bag. It's awesome. You got to listen to it.
I'm going to listen to it on my walk home today. I love it.
Please do. But hey, Reece, thank you so much. Let's grab a beer. All right.
Yeah. Appreciate it. We'll see you, PJ.
All right, man. Bye.